Hello everybody, Kemo Sabi here, coming at you with another video. So this one's off of ABCNet.AU webpage. A write-up by North Asia correspondent Jake Sturmer. Updated May 20th, 2018 at 1:11 a.m. with a topic of Kamikatsu, the Japanese town working towards a zero-waste goal by 2020. If you think working out whether your rubbish should go into the recycling bin or not, spare a thought for the residents of the teeny Japanese town of Kamikatsu. The 1,500-odd locals in this village have to sort their waste into 45 different categories. It's part of the town's ambitious goal of producing zero waste by 2020. The purpose is to recycle whatever we can recycle, says the town waste station's manager, Kazuyuki Kayohara. What we can sell as resources becomes town revenue. Everything else we try to process at low cost. If all the waste collected turns into resources, it's zero waste. Recycling cheaper than incineration. Nestled between green hills and the narrow winding roads of Tokushima Prefecture, Kamikatsu looks like any other village in the provincial Japan, and until the early 2000s, it followed the typical Japanese way of disposing of rubbish, incineration. But when the Japanese government introduced strict new regulations cracking down on the toxic chemicals emitted by this process, the town was forced to close its incineration plant. The crisis forced Kamikatsu residents to radically rethink how they dispose of rubbish and eventually lead to the ambitious goal of going totally waste-free. These days, with the nearest incinerator located in another town, it costs 6 times more to transport and burn waste than it does to recycle it. Food scraps are mostly composted, and more than 80% of the town's other waste is now recycled. The remaining 20% that can't currently be processed, things like nappies and certain types of plastics, get sent off to be incinerated. This teeny town out on the fringes has become a glittering epicenter for the world's waste experts who jet in to see firsthand how it's done. But in order to secure a cleaner future, Kamikatsu's residents are forced to get their hands dirty. How it works. At the town's waste center, a man is smashing a porcelain toilet into hundreds of teeny pieces with a hammer. He's trying to get at and separate the plastic, rubber, and metal hidden inside so that each material can be sorted into one of the 45 recycling categories at the plant. In Kamikatsu's, even the simplest of recyclable materials can be dismantled in similar fashion before it can be disposed of. A plastic water bottle must first be washed and stripped of its label and lid before it can be ready to be disposed of in one of the dozens of boxes in the depot. Glass is separated by color, and everything from chopsticks to batteries to printer cartridges must be meticulously sorted. Many residents are elderly and no longer have cars, so local government workers and volunteers visit once a month to collect rubbish. But that's an exception. Most people have to haul their own rubbish to the recycling center. There's no curbside collection, no yellow or blue lid bins. The sheer inconvenience of the process can act as a deterrent to excess consumption in the first place. Doing these very detailed categories of separation actually makes people start to think about the beginning, says Akira Sakano from Kamikatsu Zero Waste Academy. Because with the segregation of waste, they don't have to sort into these 45 categories, so they actually start thinking about that when they buy stuff. In its bid to go waste-free, the town is facing a challenge deeply rooted in Japanese culture. Japan's packaging problem. Kamikatsu calls itself one of Japan's most beautiful towns, and it's not hard to see why. Among lush trees, a steep path leads to a teeny wooden house. Haifumai Nashi, an 83-year-old grandmother, has walked up and down this path for 60 years. She now lives in an aged care facility but comes back home regularly. I think about reducing waste, but there's always rubbish. Whatever you buy, there's always a plastic bag, she said. I wash and clean everything. Recently, I started to have to separate the package and wrapping of sweets. If you put all of your rubbish together, it's dirty. It takes some work, but it's better to recycle. Japan's love of plastic and packaging is posing a problem for the town's goal of going waste-free. Supermarkets are full of individually wrapped fruits and vegetables like pineapples, mangoes, and bananas. At the same time, lots of consumers and companies have been working towards how we can make products safe and clean, so that's why there's this packaging. Domestically, Japan uses around 9.64 million tons of plastic per year, according to the most recent figures from Japan's industry-funded Plastic Waste Management Institute. Japan does not have the space for landfill, and incineration is the country's method of choice for disposing of waste. Outside of Kamikatsu, Japanese residents still separate the rubbish into several, although far fewer categories, such as burnable items, cardboard/paper, plastic bottles, glass cans, and non-burnable material like batteries. If it's not properly cleaned and separated, it's not picked up. According to the OECD, just 1% of Japan's council waste ends up in landfill compared to 49% in Australia. In Japan, the Public Waste Management Institute said 83% of plastics were recycled or incinerated, generating power and heating local facilities like pools in the process. But in Kamikatsu, with the 2020 deadline fast approaching, the final hurdles to going waste-free could prove the most difficult because they will require changes from product manufacturers. Kamikatsu's recycling rate is very high, and it's already a big achievement, Ms. Sakano said. But looking at the rest of the 20%, that's a big challenge. So there you have it, everybody. An interesting little write-up. It was originally first published there on May 19, 2018 at 2:27 p.m. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and it'd be awesome if you subscribed, and great if you leave me some comments. We'll see you in the next one. Kemo, Sabi out.